So here's the first question. Tell us about your new office in the shopping center.
This is a setup question. It's gotta be. All right. Anyway, 4 conservative groups band together. CISC, LCPAE, Freeland County, and our Parents' Rights in Education chapter for Lebanon Sweet Home. We pooled our resources and got about a 3,500 square foot office space in the Bi-Mart Shopping Center right off Highway 20 in Lebanon. So we sell some merchandise up front. All of our profits go to support our candidates. We're not a social organization. We get candidates elected. So the more money you give us, the happier our candidates are, the more letters we can send out, the more signs we can buy, stuff like that. And, we want to start churning good speakers and folks through there. It's hard to get a brick and mortar for a good price during campaign season, and we'll have it through the election. So we want to start, all of you candidates that are working our area, get on our schedule. We'll beat the bushes and get people out there to listen to you. Thanks, Suzanne.
Okay, so here's a guy who took it upon himself to create an opportunity in your local area. Thank you very much.
You can write this down.
Awesome.
2562 South San Am Highway, Lebanon, Oregon, 97355. If you're heading over the pass, we're right across from the Comp Northwest Medical School in the Bi-Mart Shopping Center there.
Fantastic, thank you. I mean, you can do it, right? You get people together, you can do it. Thank you.
We're doing it. Yep. 2562 South San Am Highway in Lebanon.
Hey guys, we'll put this on our landing page. You need to give me some feedback from
We're building our website still, so we don't have that up there.
We'll add that. The landing page is not static. We can add new information, so.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you. Okay, next question is for Marc Thielman. Okay, you ready, Marc? What happens if left porno parents create a school for their woke purposes?
Well, that's always a concern, but remember that parents who are oriented that way, and the research is abundantly clear, they don't want to go through the work of educating their own children. And the other issue too is certain laws still apply, laws of decency, et cetera, et cetera. And they'll use that argument to say, to be anti-homeschool or why we need to regulate homeschool, that kind of thing. So homeschool kids still have to meet certain benchmarks of testing and academic development. And that's the best that we can hope for. In other states like Arizona where they're doing this, they're not seeing that phenomena. And it goes back to some, maybe the psychology guy can talk about that. But right now the data shows that, that's a fear. It's not necessarily a reality. And so I just can't imagine a lot of parents signing their kids up for that or having that program pervade or grow. They just don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to add a little bit to that too, and that's what they're having right now in school. Yeah. So anything that would give other parents choice is going to be a good one, and it will be competitive. Yep. Thank you. Okay, next question is for Woodall. What about restraining orders? You were telling me all about that. Can we use restraining orders against teachers for
do you want
grooming our children?
You don't want the story, right? You just want the yes. If there is a significant safety issue, it's a little known tactic, but it's actually something I helped a parent do back in Northern California before we moved, and it was on believe it or not, a second grade child. He brought a knife to school, threatened to stab another girl. I happened to teach that girl's brother self-defense, martial arts. So I helped her parents. The school didn't want to give us any information, so I got all the parents in second grade that would show up together at my karate school, and we basically all shared the stories, and there were significant violent episodes going back to kindergarten. So we, of course, went to the superintendent's meeting, and they were still not, their solution was they were going to pat the kid down for class. as if he couldn't just take a pencil or something and stab somebody. So we just bypassed everybody, and we went to court, and the judge got access to all the records that they won't show you, and we got a restraining order against the 2-year-old, and they had to expel him. Now, what was funny is after that happened, the principal actually told me, I'm glad that that happened because now this child has all types of resources that we didn't have available for him. And that's part of the problem. The schools are trying to do things that they just don't have the resources for, and that's a whole different issue, you know, but absolutely, if you have bullying issues that aren't being addressed, if you have a teacher that's acted inappropriate and the school isn't doing something, one of your avenues is to seek restraining orders. Put it into the court system and let a judge look at the evidence and decide whether or not your child is actually safe or not.
So on that note, I would like to ask you, Conrad, also, because we had a situation in an Oregon school where a peer, again, another student, was sexually assaulting, this was at age 11, boy on boy. And the school district basically said, well, that was mutual. It was consensual.
Yeah, same scenario. So you can absolutely file that and let the court and the judge figure that out and try the evidence in a court as opposed to the schools. Now, every area is different. You want to look at your own area for how your restraining orders work. But in general, it's probably a better option if you're at that stage than letting the schools decide.
Perfect. Yeah, because the parents got nowhere with this one. It was really sad. All right, Richard Burke, do you have any programs or training for teenagers?
You know, I like to say that all of our training programs are for teenagers. There's no reason that a teenager can't run for public office. For example, Kyle Knight, who was represented by Tyler Smith, who spoke earlier, was 19 years old. He actually was, you know, I got to meet Kyle before he was on the school board through my work with Americans for Prosperity. That's how he got involved in that. So if they want to run for office, all of the trainings that we provide on how to run for office are available to any kid that wants to try. If they don't want to run for office, but they want to volunteer for a campaign, any of our trainings that teach them how to be skilled campaign volunteers are available to all young people, as are kids if they want to go to the legislature or city council or county commission and lobby for or against a bill. I don't like to treat kids differently than I treat an adult unless a situation warrants it. If they want skills and they want to be taught, I know that kids have different levels of development, but I want to give them as much as they can handle, no more than they can handle, lots of encouragement. You know, experiment. You can't fail, even if you don't do what you want to do. You've learned something, and that's taking you down the road. I love teaching kids. We had WLN sponsored youth conferences every year for a while when Project Liberty was active. If we get a chance to work with groups of young people again, we'll hold specific conferences just for them. And we train in the same skills that we train adults for. Of course, we do it more as a novice, first time, that kind of thing. But they respond well to it. And if you treat kids with respect, if they're coming to training, they're not dragged by their parents and they actually want to go, and you treat them with respect, they treat the material with respect too.
Perfect. Okay, I'll get back around the other side. Okay, we have another one for Matt. This individual is pretty knowledgeable. He said Obama created DASH, D-A-S-H, you know about DASH, right? Yeah. In the CDC. Is it true that the OECD, I hate acronyms, do you? The OECD, do you know what that is, Matt? Or the WEF is the real actor here who guided Obama to implement this corruption of American children? It's hard to keep track of all these big bureaus and agencies.
That's the World Economic Forum, and the other one is the organization
right, okay.
of blah, 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 blah. But the bottom line on that is Obama was a globalist. I don't think, you know. And a lot of the school-based health center stuff, the pilot programs and the real push to get it out there started in the Obama administration shortly after Obamacare was pushed through. So it would not surprise me one bit if those globalist organizations had the ear of the President of the United States at that time. And Obama, in my opinion, was kind of a timid president, you know, with his red line and things, and he always liked to latch on to somebody else as part of his authority. Instead of saying, for example, Trump, I'm going to do it and this is how it's going to be done, Obama was like, well, I'll do it if Congress goes along with me, or I'll do it if NATO does it, I'll do it if the World Economic Forum does it. So to answer that question, the timing and Obama's attitude would certainly suggest to me that they had a lot to do it, or they had his ear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mark, is there networking opportunities for teachers, administrators, for job positions in California, Oregon, and Washington for conservatives?
No.
Dang. We need that, don't we? We need a separate agency.
Well, let me give you an
to
example.
represent teachers and administrators for job positions,
Well, it
so
goes
that we
back
know
to
who we're talking to.
the best hope in Oregon specifically, but it's very true in Washington and most likely in California. I know Washington and Oregon laws very well. And is you have to have school boards, and when you need to hire a teacher or a superintendent, the school board needs to do their own search, not hire a search firm, because they're all corrupt. Conservatives do not get job interviews. I just went through this in a district down where I'm at. I had people contact me and they're looking for an interim. You got to do this. And I said, well, do you know the board chairperson? And they said, no. And I said, well, then I'm not going to apply, because the Oregon School Board is running the search and I will not get an interview. I'm not going to waste my time. And sure enough, that person went and, you know, tried to get the board chair, and the board chairperson said, oh, he sounds great, and then called the Oregon School Board Association, who then said, oh, you don't want that guy. See how this works? So school boards, you have to take total charge of your district. Hire your superintendent directly, do your own search. Be transparent about it. Let your community be engaged and involved. Same with teacher hires. So, and then real quick, this person was adamant. Going to sneak a question here. He said, why go through the exercise or the expense and machine of certification or recertification? Speaking to the lawsuit plan, just get rid of the machines and mail-in ballots, have one day, one vote. Yeah, and that's called common sense. Nice job. Whoever you are, we'll give you a round of applause. The reality, the reality of it is we've got a communist for a Secretary of State.
There you go.
And this is not going to happen unless we take over or get the legislature to take some action. Or, even better, I run for Secretary of State in 2024 and win. Okay?
Can I add to his question? Can I add to Mark's question?
Oh, sure.
One of my solutions and my conclusions, and Mark, you can shoot me down if this doesn't work. If you're on a school board, you get handed a 200-page packet by the superintendent a couple days before the board, and you don't have time to do the due diligence on all the information that's in there, and it was all developed by the liberal school administration with the support of the OHA and the ODE and all these others. Can the school board vote in 1% to 2% of the school budget that they sequester so that they can hire their own team of experts, researchers, lawyers, accountants, and when they get the information, hand it to their team and say, can you do some due diligence for me and give us your opinion on that? Do they have the authority to do that?
Yeah, so school boards do a couple of things. One is they hire the superintendent. They set policy, which oversees things like approval of curriculum. And then they also approve the budget. Okay, and their attorney. So every school board in Oregon has a school board budget, and then they have discretion about how they spend that. So absolutely, the answer is yes, absolutely.
Okay, fabulous, thank you. All righty, Conrad Woodall. What about, quote, safe spaces unquote. Provided by teachers. They have signs on their doors saying, this is a safe place and you can come and talk to me. And they have that on all their school doors. And it's primarily directed toward LGBTQ students. However, all students are included always.
Yeah.
What about those signs and what are they are they to be concerned about?
Well, so I briefly mentioned Erickson's stage 5, which is identity versus confusion. And if you actually want diversity in a population, what you do is you let parents actually teach their values and you let church. So like I said, I grew up Catholic, but if in high school, when my peers are in that 12 to 18 range, your peers start to become more important, as we all know, you get that, it's hard to wrangle those teenagers in. So if you have a friend that's now a Mormon or a Protestant or something and they become important to you, you start sharing your different values, right? That's actually what creates diversity. What they're talking about is creating conformity. So they're talking about going in and creating these types of spaces and creating division and separation. And it's actually counterproductive to the whole idea of teaching diversity. It doesn't even make sense the way they're doing it. So short of a child that has been abused or neglected, which should be into the counselor's office, none of that stuff I would be for or supportive of. If you want to have diversity, you actually teach kids to get along, interact, and as they start to develop relationships, it is their differences that brings them together and brings diversity.
Sure.
You don't isolate.
But if my child is going to a school and their teacher has that sign on the door, would that be grounds for filing a temporary restraining order?
I don't think so. That would be a really uphill battle.
Because that seems like grooming.
Well, no, so for restraining orders, you do have to have some type of safety component to it. There's got to be a danger. So if it's a bullying situation that the school's not addressing, in the case we had, the kid brought a knife to school and threatened to stab a girl.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a teacher that's acting inappropriately, but they're trying to justify it and say, well, these messages are okay, they're part of the sex ed curriculum or something like that. You have to have some type of identifiable safety component there that the school is failing to provide.
Okay.
That would be a little tough to do.
Yeah, but they're
that way.
actually telling the kids that you can come and talk to me anytime, like one-on-one. This is not, in a school, classroom setting. So they're actually literally, they're putting out the welcome mat or saying, look at here, I'm saying you can talk to me anytime.
Well, so if the teacher is, you'd have to go through the process, right? So as a parent, if you find out the teacher is doing that and you feel it's inappropriate contact, then you're going to go through the normal complaint process.
Okay.
And at a certain point, if the school district doesn't comply or you're unhappy with it, and you can identify an actual safety issue, you
Okay.
can always test it that way. But
Okay.
Suzanne?
Yes.
So this just came up in a conversation I had the other day. If a teacher has that sign, are they not performing the function of a counselor? Are they not acting as a mental health professional that they're not licensed to do?
Yeah. So that's a whole nother grounds for the attorneys that are in here that I feel is actually, you can litigate on that. In a lot of school districts, so for instance, up in Idaho, you have to have a separate credential, or they call it, I can't think of the name, but it's a special credential for 5th grade and above to teach anything psychology related, right? So the question is, well, if you're going to be teaching subject matter that comes out of the fields of psychology or sociology in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, why wouldn't you require some type of, extra credentialing, right? So
In Oregon, that would be the Oregon School Counseling License through TSPC.
yeah, I mean, to me, that's absolutely a violation. There's professional ethics that crosses the line for teachers. We just need, one of the things that we don't have, which was mentioned up here, is the funding. We don't have as many attorneys working on retainer.
That's right.
Our groups, we need to get together. One of the things I'm trying to do up there is to get the grassroots groups together and do funding specifically for litigation. because we do not have enough litigation behind us when
right.
these issues come up. And that is absolutely something that could be litigated. Are these teachers even qualified? Because you're going to follow the line up, and this material is coming out of psychology programs, right? Or even gender studies, for instance. If you require teachers to have an extra credential to teach psychology, why wouldn't you require an extra credential to teach gender? So then the idea would be a lawsuit should be filed that says no teacher should be teaching anything gender related without the proper credentialing or education, right? But we don't have anybody filing those suits, even though they're viable. I mean, I think there's a basis for it.
Yeah. Great. Well, I think I have one more question because it's very late, and I'm so impressed with this group. I mean, it's 5:15, guys, so we have to answer one more question, and then you can always email, you can contact any of these individuals that spoke at our event today. Go to the landing page, and there are websites. But the last question is for Marc Thielman. Are there any schools in Oregon that aren't indoctrinating kids?
Well, there was one.
There was one.
So
Okay.
I don't know if to help people with that, you really do need to be aggressive. And if you're worried about indoctrination, you have only one option, and that is to start a pod school, find a very conservative charter school. There may be some. I don't know of any. I know some are in Washington and back east, but the real issue is you have to take matters in your own hands, because the indoctrination is everywhere. So I couldn't hire a teacher in Alsea even that I didn't have to de-woke.
Wow.
See, and because they're trained to say, and if they're, let's say they're reading Shakespeare or they're reading George Orwell or something, and they're trained to say, take an analogy out of a book like Fahrenheit 451 and say, well, what if there was a transgender? They're trained to continue to introduce these themes. What a lot of these teachers that were woke experienced in my school district on day one was weird. One is the superintendent would tell them, I say this every year, I would tell my teachers, do not have sex with kids. Do not be in a room. Do not talk about these things. It's not our place. That is the place of the parent. We are here to teach kids how to think, not what to think. And if you got a problem with that, come see me. And sure enough, invariably somebody would, oh, you're so arrogant. But everything I said was true, and then I'd always finish with that line. I said, however, every year in Oregon, when I said just follow the media, somebody, usually in Sweet Home, does, cross that line.
Right.
And it has detrimental effects on the school district, on the community, and it's a ripple effect, and nothing good comes from that. So I was the only superintendent telling my staff that, I guarantee you. I guarantee you. And so when I said I was the only publicly declared superintendent, that's how bad it is. And there isn't a brave superintendent that is conservative that will stick their head up. Okay, because they'll get canceled. Remember, why did the union call and threaten me the way they did? Because most people cave. Yeah, well, he's getting there. Yeah, good, go Newberg. Yeah, I was on the front page on that one too. What's with all this? So, but the humor of it is, amen to that. You gotta love Newberg. I do love Newberg, by the way.
Yeah.
But the issue is, even in Newberg, he's facing a lot of heat from the opposition. You better be willing to suffer if you're going to be a conservative, but you want to suffer well. You have to be tough, but you also have to be caring and open. Don't judge. And that's why I survived. I never judged anybody. So I really want to emphasize that. Boards, take control and screen for openness and non-judgment in your leaders.
Well, thank you all so much. Thank you for this fantastic day. Next year, same time, we'll be announcing it. So we're going to be marking our calendars a year in advance. Plan for it. Thank you. We know after this great presentation, you will want to join Parents' Rights in Education. It just makes sense. Activism can be enjoyable when you are surrounded by like-minded people. And together, we win. Go to the website and click on the Join Us tab. Fill out the form there to receive important news alerts and information. We have state chapters in more than 10 states, and we have followers all over the country, and we'll do our best to connect you with like-minded people in your area. Like us on Facebook and join a state and local Facebook group. We are not new to this arena of fighting for parents' rights. You will want to watch the PRIE history video on our homepage. Don't have time to read? Also featured on the homepage is the podcast, Parents' Rights Now. These are not meant to be entertaining, but provide valuable information, catching you up on the issues quickly. Would you like to contribute to our cause? We are a tax-deductible 501c3 organization. Click on the donate button on our website. We need your help, and we can't do it alone. Consider joining the 12 by 12 Club. Your gift of just $12 or more will help restore parents' rights across the country. Together, we are winning.